Let us go ahead and bring in the Shema together. If I can have you stand. ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מסכה היום על לבביך, ושנתם לבניך, רדיר בטבע בשבתך, בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד לידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is Elohim, Yahweh is one. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words which I command you this day be upon your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Well, I think my biggest challenge today will be this headset. I'm in good shape. Wow. All right. Paula or Miss Isla, whichever one, thank you for the minutes. I either say thank you or I should be offended, I'm not sure.
Sonny did it.
I didn't want to
Sonny did it.
Is in order to help, you need me to pace around the form?
Oh gosh, please don't. Well, you have to click. You have to have the heels, but you got to have the boots going.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's right. He had the steel tips on last week, didn't he? Oh, goodness. Yeah, it is weird. I'm like completely and totally feeling out of sorts. So, all right. Let me make sure that my notes are in the right order. Yeah, I thought I was actually going to take some time during worship and sit down and kind of make sure my notes were good. And because I have a lot, which hopefully doesn't mean I'll be here all day. Because quite frankly, I'll probably put myself to sleep. But no, there's just a lot here. There we are. All right. Today was actually supposed to be relatively simple. I was going to be regurgitating a lot of Bible verses that you've all probably heard before. But I felt that they were verses we needed to hear, because we're obviously not paying attention. And when I say we, I do include me with this. Is that a weed whacker out there?
Yeah.
So that'll be your next challenge.
Right. So now that I've conquered the headset, now I have a weed whacker.
Sarah, do you need background music?
I need like white noise that's not the weed whacker.
I can provide white noise. White.
I don't know if you have noticed, but it seems as if the body of believers, and I mean like the entire body of believers, I don't mean just Messianics, I don't mean just Christians, I mean all of them, all of us, we're starting to run around like chickens with their heads cut off. We're in a state of panic. I'm so sorry. I think these guys really getting to me. And because we're panicking, we're not paying attention, we are grasping at straws. we are looking for any source of hope we can possibly find, because apparently we have forgotten our source. And apparently we really have forgotten, even though last week I said Yahweh has never left his throne, apparently we have forgotten that he has not left his throne.
It's a big B outside. It's a big B outside.
It's a big B outside.
Big B.
I've got a 357 with a B on it.
Anyone got a very large fly swatter?
Very large fly swatter. So, a while back, a friend shared a prophetic word that was in an article regarding the Jewish New Year. This last one, and it being called the Year of the Mouth. Now, around that same time, I was preparing a lesson specifically on Lashon Hara. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. I will explain it a lot later on. But it was basically a lesson about our speech, how we interact with one another. And Yoshi is just staring in rapt attention. I love it. Either that or she's just spaced out. So I saw these two paths converging. I'm like, okay. Most of you who know me know that I am very, 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 very cautious when it comes to prophecy. I do sort of adopt a wait and see approach with prophecy. Not out of disrespect to the person, and not out of disrespect to the Ruach, because I firmly believe in the gift of prophecy. I believe that people hear from the Father, and I believe that that information can be disseminated to his people. I do not believe that all words are prophecy. Prophecy is usually only clear in hindsight. You can go, oh yeah, that's what that was. Yeah, I see that. My big one was the, forgive me, I can't remember the pastor's name, I meant to look it up, but it was the one that I shared with you a few months ago, where he had the dream about the masks, and he had the dream about the coin shortage, and then he had a dream about November and a fist hitting the month of November. Hello. Now, I haven't watched anything else that he's done. I think he's come out with another number of videos. But that was one where I was scrolling through, and it was like the Ruach, really, I mean, I felt a hand on my shoulder going, wait a second, listen to this. And you can see, now, we definitely had a big old fist hitting the month of November. And he mentioned that he saw, like, Chinese in the streets. But you got to remember, when you talk about dreams and visions, sometimes there can be symbolism. Well, right now, China is a big threat, politically, but it's also with their socialist propaganda. We know that they've been involved in our universities. And we see that fruit literally in our streets, in the forms of the parades, in the forms of the riots, in the forms of the mobs. So again, that dream that he had, we're looking back now going, all right, I see that. And prophecy isn't just, we don't see it just in the churches right now. Every political pundit on every single avenue and angle and YouTube channel has their own prophecies for what's going to happen. The Tim Pools, the Steve Turleys, the Stephen Crowders. I'm sorry, I don't watch the liberals, so I don't have the names on those sides. But they're there too, of what's going to happen, what they think is going to happen. So everybody's looking for that hidden knowledge. Everybody's looking for that kernel of truth. Everybody wants that little bit that's going to give them the spark of hope that they need to wake up the next morning and realize that hell really isn't coming on your next door, on your doorstep, and it's not really there to kill you, and it's not going to take you to the concentration camps, and it's not going to take away your right to life, and it's not going to take away your right to freedom of religion and speech. But we have succumbed. All of us. No matter how much we try. So what I want you to do right now, I want you to look at all the people around you, the people beside you, to put a big smile on your face and say, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Liars. You all lie. Deceivers. The smile is fake, and your fine is a lie. Because we ain't fine. And we're floundering. And that's exactly what the adversary wants. He wants us distracted. He wants us useless. I have a dear friend who gave me a swift kick in the butt. And she gave me a swift kick in the butt this morning. And I needed the swift kick in the butt. Because more and more has been coming against me personally. I have had individuals say that I shouldn't be teaching, that I shouldn't be in leadership. And it hurts, and it makes me mad, and the sun shouldn't go down in your anger. I can guarantee you the sun has gone down on my anger a few times. Maybe a lot. And I got to the point in the last 2 weeks where I was going, Father, I don't have anything to teach you people anymore. I just forget it. And I was just so down and so defeated. And my husband, because he loves me, there are times I feel like he throws me to the wolves, but that's because he has faith in me. Lord only knows why. But he said, if we need to close the doors so that our sanity will be okay, then we will close the doors. Because this can't be more important than your health. And there was a small kernel in me that took comfort in that. Because my hubby would protect his wife. But then his cancer and his Rebbetzin reared up inside. I was like, get behind me, Satan! And of course my husband is not Satan, nor was he speaking the words of Satan. He was just worried about his wife and his friend. And so here I am. And as the day approached for me to give this lesson, I'm still struggling. I still know what I want to teach on. I still know the verses that I was planning on saying.
So is your daughter okay?
Huh?
Is your daughter okay?
Well,
No, meaning like have they tied her up yet?
did anybody have duct tape? Actually, I think Ashley went in there with her.
I've got gorilla tape in the car.
If I knew my daughters, they got it. It was Ashley's I did a duct tape already.
There you go.
No, now that you mention it. There might be some truth to that. So again, I'm revisiting this concept of the year of the mouth. And because I am cynical, no comments from the peanut galleries. Y'all need to develop some cynicism. Just a little bit. Because when someone tells you something, and it could be someone you trust, it could be someone like me. It could be me! And you go, oh, that's really good. And you believe it. And then you repeat it. But you never check it out for yourself. People, if it is possible, even the elect will be deceived. Somebody posted something on Facebook just the other day. I'm like, that's interesting. And it's someone that I respect, someone that I know personally. It took me 10 seconds to go online, do a search, and realize that even though what this person shared was cool, it was not prophetic. It is something that repeats. It's something that will repeat. And people are starting to weigh in on this particular thing that was shared on Facebook. How cool is that? Oh, wow, it's prophetic. Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, we have this to look forward to. Oh, check out this date. 10 seconds. And I was able to get the source. I was able to get more information and not be led astray. And I don't mean that, like this would have cost me my salvation. No, but it is a distraction. All those pretty lights out there, all those little hidden kernels of knowledge that everybody thinks they want. So when I hear that 5781 is the year of the mouth, I read the article. Okay, why is it the year of the mouth? So I go check out some other sources. Okay, that's really nice. Why is it the year of the mouth? Why not the nose? Why not the hand? Why the mouth? Dry erase markers. I hate to... Here's my disclaimer. There are a lot of people out there that are a lot smarter than me. They've had more experience in ministry, they've studied longer, they've been to seminary, they know Hebrew, they might know Greek, and that's all really cool. They've got these really huge ministries, they got the really fancy tallits, and they say really cool things. But without understanding, really understanding, some things get lost in translation. And that's one of the problems with being a Messianic believer. Because most of us have come out from the church. All right? We do not know the traditions. We do not know the culture as well as we could. Most of us don't know Hebrew. We don't know Kabbalah. What did you just say? Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism. Plain and simple. Now, if you don't think Christianity has this level of mysticism, where you been? But when someone says that 5781, the Hebrew year 5781, which started this last September, is the year of the mouth, and I question why, I want to know where that information came from. Because I do not want to be led astray. Now, this particular article, if I remember correctly, did come from Elijah List. Landry? I think the last name was Landry. He's got a really big ministry. But as I personally began to study, all right, I read this one article, and now I'm studying. Now I'm going to Chabad. Now I'm going to Talmud. Now I'm going to the Zohar. Now I'm going to the books on Gematria. All right, that's the Jewish numbers, or it's an interpretation of Hebrew numbers. And it's a Kabbalistic tool. So if any of you have heard people going, oh, Kabbalah, that's the work of the devil. That's New Age. Obviously they don't understand. But then if they also want to go, oh, 666, and they start spouting all the number stuff, they're using a Kabbalistic tool. They don't know what they're doing. But that's neither here nor there. So if we're looking at 5781 as the year of the mouth, and we're asking that question, why? How was this conclusion made? We have to go back a little bit. I will try to make this big enough so that y'all can see. Evie and Micah, you might, I don't know if I can hit everybody. I need a big dry erase board. All right, I need my notes. So we have the year 5770. And I'm going to leave 5790 blank because it's kind of cool. Da-da-da. Y'all didn't bring apples today, did you, for the teacher? Okay. All right. When you first look at 5780, we're actually looking at decades, not individual years. All right? So we are actually in the second year of math. All right? So 5780, how do we come up with that? So we have the number 80. And we have a Hebrew letter, Pei. Pei is a very interesting letter. I need another dry erase board. Abby, don't laugh at my Hebrew. That is a cough. It's a cough. All right, looks like a backwards C in a way. It is said that the cough is a Pei without the tooth. I am not an artist. Pei has a tooth. So we went out. So we have a numerical value of 80, which is the numerical value of Pei, which is where math comes in. So we have some connecting dots as to why that letter was used. It started with that number 80. With 70, the letter Ein. Really wish I was better at drawing things. It's kind of like that. And that is very interesting. And you gotta love it when you have an individual who is so far above you with their intelligence and their experience that I have to give him credit. And no, I'm not talking about normal. I was going to be very disappointed about that. The last couple of days I have been praying for scales to be dropped from our eyes. I've been unable to pray for much more than that, because I just feel like we're missing something as a group. I'm missing something specifically, but as a group, we're blinded. So I found this website by this incredibly intelligent Hasidic sage. He's a modern day sage. Before he converted to Judaism, he had masters in mathematics and philosophy. So much smarter than me. And he has taken great pains to study gematria, to study the Hebrew letters, the alphabet, and its correlation with Torah. His name is Rabbi Ginsburg, just in case you guys ever want to check this out. And he has become the modern expert, the modern authority on Jewish mysticism. And he was born right here in the States. He was born in Missouri in 1944. So this amazing individual puts together this huge collection of information. And a website has been created. The website is called Gal and nay. I'm like, oh, sure. Right. What the heck is that? Here's my nature coming out again. Ask. What? Why? Who? What's it mean? So when I go on, I search for what that means. And it means open my eyes. And I was just like, I'll take that. Open my eyes. When you look at an eye, there are two letters. There is a vav and a nun. The vav is over here. The nun, this is sort of a stylized representation of it. The vav reminds us of the nail. That's how it looks, kind of straight, the head at the top. The nun is described as a bridge. The vav, according to the sages, is indicative of Torah. And whenever you see a nun in the letter, there is a bridge. And I'm looking at that letter, and I'm looking at the number, and I'm looking at what it means. I see salvation. Who's our bridge? Yeshua is our bridge. What did Yeshua come to do? He showed us how to live Torah. And then he was sacrificed for us as a final sacrifice for sin. He's our bridge. He's our conduit. So in the decade of 5770, we had this time that we should have been seeing. We should have had our salvation. What was happening, though, is more and more people were seeing Yeshua, not Jesus. They were seeing Yeshua as the bridge. They were catching on to Torah. They were catching on to their Jewish roots. That was happening quite a lot in that decade. But we're still a little bit behind the 8 ball, as far as I'm concerned. We still have scales on our eyes that need to fall off so that we can truly see blessings. So when we get to 5780, and we've got that number 80, and we hit pay, with mouth, we have teeth. Some of the well-meaning people out there, it's just sort of generic. And it really wasn't giving me anything. In this one article, it was nicely worded, don't get me wrong. But it was basically like, okay, we have to trust that we'll have the words, and that we say the words that we're supposed to say when we're supposed to say them, and then we're not supposed to say things that we're not supposed to say when we're not supposed to say them. Thanks for that. If we do not see, we cannot understand. If we don't ask our questions, why? How will we learn? How will you not be led astray if you don't ask the very simple question, why? Last week I stood up here in front of you and I said, sometimes we need to make a decision to fight. You have no peace. It could be relationship issues, financial issues, job issues, grief, self-esteem, and that's just counting here. That's not counting the external world. That's just the stuff happening in your zone. And it's all designed to keep your mind and your heart off of the Father and off of what we should be doing. So how does this affect us? What's it really mean? We have the decade of a mouth. Okay, so what? What's that really mean? You have any thoughts? And you're all just vibrant.
What do you think? Any thoughts at all? Miss Paula, you talked a lot.
Oh,
Oh, that hurt.
Truth usually does. What do you think? Year of the mouth. So what do we do?
Yeah, it's big.
Be silent about
Praise?
God's word.
It's not
Don't be
working.
silent about God's word.
So we have basically praise and worship. Don't be silent about God's word. Much is going to be said.
Put your zeal back.
Get your, get your zeal back. I'm liking that.
against the evil tongue.
Somebody heard my comment about the Shankarah, the battle against the evil tongue. We're going to get into that just here a little bit. I'm going to share with you something from the sages. Now this is esoteric, which means it's kind of highfalutin. Try to stay with me. Most of you have heard that term, the Sephiroth. Okay, the emanations. We've heard of Bina, Chokmah, Tiferet, Gevurah, are just a few. It's also called the Tree of Life. We refer to it as Jacob's Ladder. All right, it is how Yahweh interacts with the world and the divine emanations of his attributes. In that tree, there are two things, Bina and Chokmah, understanding and wisdom. There is a attribute at the top called Keter, which is crown. If Keter comes out of the equation, Bina and Chokmah join together, and they form a superhero called Da'at, knowledge. When God left his heavenly throne and put it into a human body, Bina and Chokmah joined into one conduit named Yeshua. And in him all was the knowledge of Torah, all the understanding, all the wisdom of God. Our bridge. The Zohar says the power of Da'at is concealed in the mouth. The power of Da'at is concealed in the mouth. Hear that. The power of Da'at is concealed in the mouth. The power of knowledge. But more than that, the power of our Messiah is concealed in the mouth. When he spoke, oh, what happened? When he called out the Pharisees as a den of vipers, you better believe they were shaking in their shoes. And when he decided to act and he flipped the tables in the temple, you better believe they were listening. He had such power, such presence. And he showed us that it is possible for us to operate in the same way. The 33rd letter of the Hebrew text of Genesis is good. It's Tov. Gematria is a silly thing, because you can take a lot of numbers and make them mean different things. But when you take 16, when you take 17, you put them together, you get 33. 33, the number, or that 33rd word in the Hebrew text, is good. Yeshua, our salvation, whose power is in his speech and what he has told us to do. There is no better good than that. When we go to look at something like this and say, what does it mean for us? It's a very important question. When these sages have come up with very cool things, and we see all these numbers floating in our heads, and we see the Sephiroth floating around, And these are all really esoteric concepts, and they all sound really cool, and it makes the Rebbetzin sound really smart. What does it mean? How do we apply it to our lives? On Sunday, on Wednesday, on Shabbat. Because sometimes our mouths get us into trouble. I don't know about you. It happens to me on this basis. So what are we to speak? And when are we to speak it? Do we proclaim that prophecy? Name it and claim it. Oh, remember that?
Yeah.
That didn't always work, did it? Actually, probably 9 times out of 10 it didn't.
Make some good money.
Yeah, they do make good money. But we know speech is important. We use speech when we go to the courts. When we ask for restraining orders, spiritually in the courts. When we ask to be released of those generational curses, we're using our mouths. When we pray, we're using our mouths. In 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about the difference between prophecy and tongues. That tongues is for the unbeliever. Not to be used, but as a sign. Because if somebody comes in here and they speak Russian, and none of us are Russian, we don't have any Russian. Nobody speaks fluent Russian. They walk in, and all of a sudden we've got 5 people speaking Russian. That is part of tongues. Now you also know, I do believe in the prayer language of tongues. Just to be clear. If you don't, that's okay. That's not going to affect my salvation or yours. That's just a difference in beliefs. And believe it or not, we can disagree and still get along. Don't know if you knew that. But if someone walks in and we're speaking in tongues, that's not edifying anybody. It's not going to make any sense to them. But if they walk in and we're speaking their language, that's going to mean something to them. Prophecy, Paul says, is for the believer. Now later on he actually says it's even good for the unbeliever because, man, you get an unbeliever that walks in there and you start telling them what they've just done in the last 48 hours and you're like, hello. You just got their attention. I don't know how long you have their attention, but you got their attention. But that's how prophecy can manifest. Not just for telling, but saying, look, God knows you. He sees you. And he told me to tell you that he sees you, and here's why. Because we can't hide from God. We cannot hide our motivations. We cannot act like we have a servant's heart when really what we want is influence. I want to help at the synagogue. I want to do more things at the church. But is it because they have a servant's heart? Or because they want influence? And I'm not saying that anyone here does that. These are things that we need to think about. When God sees us, we cannot hide from him. He knows in the deepest recesses, the darkest corners of our hearts, what our true motivations are. And out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. They are very tightly connected. Isaiah 43:10, Yahweh says, "You are my witnesses, and my servant whom I have chosen, so that you can know and trust me and understand that I am he. No God was produced before me, and nor will any be after me. I, yes, I am Yahweh. Besides me there is no deliverer. I have declared, saved, and proclaimed, not some alien God among you. Therefore, you are my witnesses. I am Yahweh. Then verse Isaiah 43:12, Yahweh says, I have declared, I have saved, and I have proclaimed. It's actually declared, saved, and it's really more called, not proclaimed. But we have a word here, declaring means to stand boldly. To stand boldly oppositely. To manifest. To announce. Does that sound like mealy mouth, Casper milk toast, weeny, whiny faith to you? To front. Don't be fronting. That sounded so weird. But to stand boldly. Saved. Yasha. You should hear a similar word there. If I say Yasha for saved, doesn't that sound like Yeshua? Yeshua, God saves. Means to be open, wide, free. Y'all felt a little shackled this last year? Don't say this. Don't say that. You've been silenced. We have been silenced. Oh, you can't talk about Torah. That's legalistic. You can't say that homosexuality is a sin. You're homophobic. Free. Wide open. No holds barred. What kind of faith do we have right now? I guarantee you mine isn't. My faith is shackled. It has been. And it's about to change. And you guys are probably going to be a little uncomfortable with that. Because I'm done. I'm done waiting. Part of a leader, I don't know if you knew this, part of a leader is to lead. And so often I try to stay with you guys. Because we are a family. But whether you agree with the concept of a woman teaching or not, whether you agree that I have something to add, I personally, Sarah, has something to add. I lost my train of thought. No, I'm joking. It no longer matters. Because I am a witness for my Heavenly Father. And whether or not you're with me, by God, I'm going to start proclaiming boldly. And I'm going to start being wide and free.
There you go. Praise the Lord.
And I'm inviting you to come along with me. When we get to that last section there where it says proclaimed, it's actually more like hearing. It's actually a root like Shema. To hear, to obey, to cause, to give ear. If you ain't talking, they can't give ear. If you're sitting mum on your hands, they're not going to hear you. You got to talk. Wild and free, people. Wide open. Proclaiming. Excuse me, thinking of Jesus loves you.
What?
Sorry, who?
What was that?
My brother, sister, just want to let you know that I'm praying for you. Are you sleeping around?
I napped one time.
For Matt, sleeping around means going from one of my couches to the other.
Exactly.
Y'all, we got to start calling this stuff out.
Yeah.
Are you honoring Shabbat or are you defiling it? Are you eating the ham or are you forgetting it?
Yeah.
Are you being obedient or not? Guys, can we achieve perfection?
No.
Who do we have that makes up for the rest of it? We have Yeshua. Does that mean that we don't try though? Does that mean we don't honor his sacrifice with everything we do? On Facebook, I saw this last link that says, eating is now is a way of worship.
You.
I'm sorry. And it's this lovely lady, she's got this basket of fruit, organic, of course. Because, you know, anything pesticides from the devil. I'm sorry. It's one of those days. But the whole premise is that even eating is an act of worship. That everything we do be as, you know, a fragrant aroma to the Father. Okay. I bet you she had a ham sandwich. Now that's very judgmental of me, and she may not have had a ham sandwich, but my point is, we are all over here. We're over here. We're over this and this prophecy, we're that prophecy, and we're this new fad over here, and this fad over here, and this political pundit over here. People! You don't have to go very far. Yahweh's word is not far from you. And we are his witnesses. If you are not witnessing about him, if your light is not shining, if your life is not reflecting his light and his love for you and the world, you're failing. Congratulations. Wake up. Declare it. What? What?
She said, the only thing you didn't say is you're the weakest link.
Jeez.
You were not smarter than a fifth grader.
Oh, man, that, you know what? That show would terrify me. Because I know I'd fail.
Honestly, though.
Like, forget it. Just forget it. Call me stupid right now. Months ago, at Shavuot, I had told you I wanted this wonderful word of exhortation for all of you. And all I heard at 11:30 on Friday night before Shabbat was prepare for my rebuke. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I can only imagine that we haven't been listening, because it's been crap since then in this world. It's only gotten worse. And you know what? We still ain't been rebuked. We're still asking for his grace and mercy like we've just been fabulous. We had that whole thing for the return with Jonathan Kahn. There was dancing, there was worship, there was praising. It was beautiful. It's a mess. Because we still aren't doing what he wants us to do. And it's one thing to go to D.C. Oh, I went to D.C. It was a wonderful time. We all danced. It was fantastic. It was such a blessing. When was the last time you went over to your neighbor? When was the last time you talked to the coworker? When? This is really taking me off. In case you hadn't noticed. We were useless. I told myself I wasn't going to get mad. We are so inundated with our own garbage. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it sucks. I get it. Been there. Done that. And I'm still standing in front of you telling, get up! We have a job to do. We are his witnesses. If we don't do it, who will? Who will?
The Muslims. Your own witness.
But Rebbetzin, how do we do that? Where do we start? Hi, good morning, how you doing? It's not that hard. Take over donuts. Show the love of God. Show it. Proclaim it. So we get down to this lovely thing called Lashon Hara. Oh, it's insidious. It's a terrible little thing. It's called the evil tongue. And since we're in the year of the mouth, we better get this under our belts and we better get it fast. Because this is one where we're all screwing up. And I am darn tired of talking about it. Lashon hara is the concept of gossip. That's one of its incarnations. Did you know? Did you hear? Did you hear about this? Oh, Sister Martha, we need to pray for her because you sent me that skit, which was hysterical, by the way. And part of this skit was all about Halloween. And it was funny. It was the Halloween Karen, I think, if I remember correctly. So if y'all want to do a search on that, oh my Lord. But one of these things was like, we really need to pray for Susan because, her son just, she just goes off. How many times do we do that? Say, oh, we need to pray for so-and-so because get this. Or I need to pick on somebody that isn't going to get hurt. Ha! Pop really hurt my feelings the other day, and you didn't. Pop really hurt my feelings the other day. Cheryl, I need to be lifted up in prayer because Pop really hurt my feelings, and I think he might be possessed. I think he has a spirit because he hurt me so bad. Oh, you wouldn't believe what he said. This is what he said. Do you get where I'm going with that? Tell me you haven't done it. Try. That is what Lashon hara is. That evil little tongue. James says, it's that little rudder that we just can't control. People, y'all want the gift of prophecy? You want the gift of healing? You want the gift of dance? You want the gift of worship? You want the gift of teaching? Lord knows I don't know why you would want the gift of teaching, but if you're given it, by God, you better do it. How are you going to do it if you can't discipline this? I mentioned tongues earlier, and the difference between tongues and prophecy. If you use tongues as a personal prayer language, that's fine. But in Corinthians, Paul says, tongues is fine. But it doesn't exercise my mind. So when I pray, I'm going to pray, but I'm also going to pray with my mind. And when I praise, I'm going to praise with my mind. We need to discipline ourselves. Nobody likes to do that. Josh, Jane, you like to be disciplined? Of course not. Prepared for my rebuke, people. We need to discipline ourselves so that this thing no longer rules us. There are times, yes, women especially, we need to vent. It is therapeutic. It is cathartic. That's like I've said, when I haven't taken anybody out to dinner for a long time, but when I would with the ladies, it was no holds barred. Because if you're ticked off, I don't want you watching your language. I just said that to Rebbetzin, oh my gosh! I can guarantee you the Rebbetzin has heard it before. The Rebbetzin has probably said it before. I'm going to help you with that. No holds barred. Well, it either disagrees or agrees. I don't know. Did I lose it? Okay. A heartfelt venting, where you are pouring out your heart, is different than the sniping, backstabbing crap that we have everywhere we go. We cannot be guilty of it here. This has got to stop. When people have been here and then they leave here, they don't. We don't start talking here. We don't start making suppositions here. We don't start making assumptions here. We don't start hiding in corners and wide open, free. If you don't want to be shackled, stop using your own mouth to do it. Psalms 50:16. We're going to close up here real soon. I don't know how long I've been teaching. I didn't bring my phone up here, so forgive me if I'm going long. Psalm 50:16. But the wicked, Yahweh says, what right do you have to proclaim my laws or take my covenant on your lips? When you so hate to receive instruction and fling my words behind you, prepare for my rebuke. The Lord disciplines those he loves. If you become chastised, if you become convicted, and you throw it behind you, you are wicked, and what right do you have to proclaim anything of his? When you see a thief, you join them. You throw in your lot with adulterers. You give your mouth free rein for evil and harness your tongue to deceit. You sit and speak against your kinsman. You slander your own mother's son. That would be your brother, just in case you missed that. When you do such things, should I stay silent? You may have thought I was just like you. But I will rebuke and indict you to your face. Consider this, you who forget God, or I will tear you to pieces with no one to save you. Whoever offers thanksgiving as his sacrifice honors me, and to him who goes the right way, I will show the salvation of God. See, salvation. Which leaves us to 5790.
What was the last address?
Huh?
What? It is.
Psalm chapter 50, verses 16 through 23. I can record that for you. Like Alice Bader's Scoresby dramatized version of Sarah. 5790. All right, let me do my disclaimer. Repent at my rebuke. Then I will pour out my thoughts to you, and I will make known to you my teachings. If you want to see, if you want to know, repent at his rebuke, and he himself will pour his thoughts to you. Don't you want it direct from the source? Don't you? I do. Do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke. As I was studying and floundering myself, and I go through a lot of things when I'm trying to study. I hit a wall. And sometimes I'll go out in the kitchen and I'll dance. And I came back at one point. I just went out, just danced. Got a little emotional, like, okay, calm down again. And I find 2 Timothy 4:2. Preach the word. Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. And all I could hear in my mind were my own prayers and my own struggles over the last couple of weeks of, I don't have to teach. What do I have to share with these people anymore? I'm dried up. I got nothing. and I read that. Preach the word. Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage. What am I supposed to do? Correct, rebuke, and encourage. What can you guys do? Correct, rebuke, and encourage. Because it ain't just for me. With great patience and careful instruction. There's a caveat there. I think I'm working on that. Come. I'm done sitting down. I'm done with the diplomacy. I really am. Y'all start coming to me with some crazy macadamia thing, and I'm going to be like, dude, what are you doing? I know you're a child of God. I know you've got your salvation. Are you content with that? Is that where you want to stay? Come with me. Because I'm going. I'm moving on. Not literally. You got me here. You're stuck. Tough. Deal with it. But I want you to get out of the trenches. Come up with me and start taking some land. Because I'm done getting walked on, and I'm done being quiet. And I'm done calling out the BS, or not calling out the BS. I'm done. Doesn't mean I have to say anything about it. But I guarantee you, if you come up to me and you start spouting something, I'm going to tell you. Because it is my job, along with rabbis, to correct, rebuke, and encourage. So, with that warning, I wish you all Shabbat Shalom. I'll go ahead and close up. You're going to have to really speak up because you know my hearing.
I didn't come all the way up because I came over right.
Sorry? Okay, so I turned this off. Hold that thought. All right, we good? Now,
But when you were talking about the speaking up and how I couldn't help but remember back to this topic that I've been studying, Musar, which is kind of
yes.
Jewish ethics. And
Yes.
one of the topics, I think the first topic we were going through was humility. And I was really struck by the way they looked at the concept of humility. And they kind of describe humility as the concept of like a spiritual bench. So envision a bench that you go and sit on. And the concept of humility is how much space is appropriate for you to take up on that bench. And there should be enough space for everybody, not just yourself. And are you taking up, are you being thinking of humility, the opposite of humility is pride, of taking up too much space on the bench. And that can be true. You can be prideful in a way which is getting out of line with humility, but you can also have too much humility and not take up enough space on the bench. That's the part that
I don't even sit on the bench. You can sit on the bench.
right. And that's almost like a reverse pride, almost so much pride of look at me and look how small I am.
Right.
It could be kind of like almost that kind of response, or it could be just almost like you're just a doormat and just letting everyone walk all over.
That's
you.
why you busted me.
And to me, what spoke to me about humility was that I needed to speak up more. Like I'm hearing this little voice in the back of my head saying, hey, speak up, say something, or do something. And I'm not. And I'm working on that. But I also have to, the whole mouth concept kind of goes into it. You also have to, and other concepts in Musar play into that. How do you say it? Or how do you do it? Because you can do it in a wrong way.
Exactly.
And it come across, and then it loses the power that it should have. you know. But I just felt that concept of humility fit very much with the whole thing about speaking out in accurate hands. I think the mouth is it's not just what you say, it's also in the form of action.
I agree.
We think of it as only a verbal thing, but it also takes
We have body language.
acting out, well, and your body language, but even taking the action of being willing to speak or not speak.
Absolutely. No, I think you're absolutely right with that. That's one of the things that with humbling ourselves and why you have to be receptive as well. Not to abuse, not to verbal abuse, but if we're talking in legitimate rebuke, then, you know, Mary Lou's not here today. You know, if something happens with her, her chin comes out, you know, it's like, you know, just punch me right here. You know, you have to be very careful with being receptive because sometimes you need to hear it. Sometimes we do need to hear it. All right? So, yes, absolutely right. Thank you for sharing that. Of course, sometimes it's tough because when you're friends with Tiana, and you've been friends with Tiana for a while, and she's been quiet for all that time, all of a sudden she starts to speak up, and you're like, who's this? It's the new and improved Tiana. But I'm with you. I totally get it. All right. Oh, we don't have our reflex for the blessings. Okay. You don't have a blessing for the boys?
Don't look like a frightened deer.
I'm getting deer in headlights. I can do it. It's okay. It's all right. I will open my mouth and boldly proclaim. All right. If I can, let's go ahead and close the ark here real soon. Let's go ahead and close the ark now. Man, I can't talk. And then we'll do the blessings of the kids. Who's going to close the ark for me today? Lisa, you want to close the ark? If I can have you stand, please, if you haven't yet. Thank you, dear. If you have your scores, it's on page 68. And this is the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel at the command of Yahweh through Moses and Aaron. And if I could have the young men, please.
Aaron, go on up there. Wow.
My goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. I'm even in heels and he's still towering over me. Sorry. You have to worry about it. All right. What? More? I do have more. Hey guys. Squeeze in. Squeeze in. Squeeze in. This is extra special today because usually it's the rabbi. You got the Rebbetzin today. All right. So let's see if I can do this properly. Yisim Elohim ke Ephraim v'ke Manasseh. May Yahweh make you as Ephraim and Manasseh, which is like bowls, and your borders will be expanded. Not that you'll gain weight, but they'll be approximate. All right. Thanks, guys. And the young ladies. I have more. Mas, Benaki. Okay, all right. One more time. Yisamek Elohim ki Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah. May Yahweh make you as Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Amen. You're gonna have lots of kids. All right. And for all y'all. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And the congregation responds.
Can you hear that song?
Sameafi. Amin and Shabbat.
Go, go.